Thank you. Edson Alvarez is suspended. Kind of news to me. So last week I did a video live on YouTube, and one of the subscribers in the live chat said, "Oh, Alvarez will be suspended because it's his second red card." And I thought, well, yeah, but it was for a second yellow. Usually a one-game suspension. The other red card was in the Carabao Cup. So I thought, I'm not so sure. But I went to do the preview with Gons on Thursday. So Thursday morning, I went onto the Premier League website, and they've got a list of players that are suspended for the upcoming games. And Mohammed Kudus was on there. Edson Alvarez was not. So I thought, well, he's not suspended then. Dan Burn was on there from Newcastle. He's there. And I thought, well, he's all right then. Then obviously I did the preview. Nobody said anything. Me and Gonzo said, oh, we'll have Edson Alvarez in midfield, please. Nobody said, you're wrong about this one, lads. But since then, Lopetegui's done his press conference and it's on the official West Ham website, but it's now on the official Premier League website as well that Edson Alvarez is suspended. So well done to that subscriber. Apologies for not believing you. And you were correct. I was wrong. And so, yeah, I was already not looking forward to tonight. I'm looking forward to it even less now because Edson Alvarez is suspended.
Yeah, big loss. Like I was
Did you know?
Too. I didn't think he was out, but I don't know. To be honest, though, I was saying this, like sort of the Newcastle up there, freezing cold, wind, Monday night. Any player that's not 100% committed, I'm not sure you want in your team tonight. I think you've got to have a team of people who want to be out there and want to try and get you a win. So the way that Edson Alvarez has been of late, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Who knows?
Yeah, he's certainly a liability, isn't he?
He has been.
Even if he did play, I'm convinced he would have got a booking, and then that immediately makes me think he's going to get sent off because he's done it twice already this season. He's not even played that many games. He's been sent off twice. So it's a case of from now on, basically, I'm worried that he's going to get booked. And when he gets booked, I'm going to be worried he's going to get sent off because twice it's occurred. Anyway, in regards to tonight's game, how are you feeling ahead of it?
Well, I spoke to my dad earlier on. He gave me a call and I mean, I always back us to win because I can't not. He's even normally more optimistic than I am, but he had the opinion, sort of, I'm going to watch it, but I don't fancy us at all. And this is the problem, Joe, isn't it? If me and you was to say, right, how do you get a win tonight? What can West Ham do to beat Newcastle tonight? Well, you don't fancy yourself to block them out or even get a point up there. A point up there is a good result tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Point, you know, how do you do that? Do you play for 0-0? Well, I don't fancy us to do that because we always concede. So you can't shut them out and get a 0-0 draw and try and hit them on the counter-attack to try and potentially get a win. I don't fancy us to outscore them because I just don't think we've got enough firepower to outscore them. So what do you do? I'm lost of it. I cannot think of a game plan or a way that West Ham beat Newcastle this evening. The only thing that I can say that may allow us to get something is the way that we've got our other results or many of the results this season so far, which is pure luck. That's all I can put it down to. We've just got to have one of them nights where they're knocking on the door, nothing goes right for them, it just won't go in. We get a bit of rub of the green somewhere and somehow West Ham come away with something. That's all I can give us. I can't give us anything else.
Yeah, it's the midfield that's the issue for me because I think we've got good defenders. Individually, we've got good players. I think if we stop this high fullbacks thing, I think that would eliminate a lot of our issues. You know, I think it's very obvious to everybody now where our weakness is and where there's a lot of space, which is in behind Adam Wan-Bissaka. We can get in between Wan-Bissaka and, assuming it's Todibo, there's room there and you're going to benefit from that space too. But I think if we can just have Wan-Bissaka playing as a right back and not this wing back type role, same with Emerson as well, and keep your back four as a back four. None of this centre midfielder dropping back. I think Edson Alvarez, I know he didn't do it well against Chelsea, but I do think he's okay at it. And it was Man City in the second half, I think it was, where it worked. Alvarez was dropping it in, but the big difference was Alvarez was dropping into the middle of the three, whereas Chelsea was dropping into the sort of right centre back position in behind, like between Mavropanos and Wan-Bissaka, and we were getting ripped apart there. But stop that for tonight's game. Let's just keep it. I think it's almost just keep it as simple as possible and not overcomplicate things because we've got a good defense and It all depends on the striker turning up, whichever one gets played. But Somerville's a good player, and Jared Bowen's a fantastic player. Would have picked up a lot of confidence scoring for England as well during the break. So in terms of defence and attack, I think we've got some good individuals there. It's just a case of it all coming together. The issue is in midfield. I'm not even sure what to suggest. I think Rodriguez is going to have to play because Alvarez isn't, but he's not up to it in terms of his pace. He's going to get found out. But you don't really have another defensive midfielder. You don't have someone else to play in there. Or do we just scrap the defensive midfielder thing and try and go really toe-to-toe with Newcastle and say, right, they're going to play 4-3-3. We know that. We're going to play 4-3-3. And everyone's going to have a direct opponent. And if you get the better of your man, we'll do all right. I think Souček will be in there. It's just a case of, does he hope Paqueta turns up? Does he put Solar in there? Does he give Andy Irving a go? Does he promote Lewis Orford, which is incredibly unlikely? But those are his options. Which outer forward midfielder do you want to play? And there's no three that anyone can come up with. I'm going to think, yeah, that's it. That's the winning three. I don't know. I can pick issues. No matter which combination you come up with out of those players, I'm going to be able to find issues with it, every single one of them. And that's my biggest issue going in. You look at what Newcastle do, they'll likely have Longstaff and Willock in midfield with Bruno Guimaraes in the middle of the two sitting. It's got everything in there. It's got that balance. They understand their roles. They play well. They're hard to break down at times, but they can also create. It's the complete opposite of us. It's easy to break down and it's difficult to create from. So because of our midfield issues, Frankie, it's just my confidence is null and void at the minute. And I don't know. You said I don't know what the game plan is. I agree with that, but also just starting 11. I don't even know what the midfield is. Do you have any preferences as to whom you would like to see in there?
No, I mean, this for me isn't a game for Rodriguez. I think, just like you say, Willock is lively. I think he's positioning. Actually, Willock is probably one of their most underrated midfielders, I would say. I think he's fantastic, and he would pull the strings and he would just run off of Rodriguez and cause him no end of trouble. So I don't think that that's the right move. I think what you said is what everybody is sort of steering towards, and I think we all think that a simplified approach to this is the way forward. We need to be solid at the back. We need to let Wan-Bissaka play as a right back, and just let Bowen be your, forward outlet, and just tell Wan-Bissaka to sit in a little bit more this game. And I think that's got to be the same with the midfield. I mean, I can't believe we're here and we're like, let's revert back to what we had last season, but that's almost where we are. I want to see Souček in the middle, because I think as a box to box, he could really help tonight. I think he's going to really be key to part of that. So if anything, and we all know that we felt like we wanted to move on from Souček, but he's the first person on that team sheet for me in the midfield tonight. I think he's just the person you have to have in now. Paqueta, it's all about whether he fancies it. Freezing cold, windy night up in Newcastle. Does that sound like a Paqueta type game? Probably not. But who knows? It's all about the management team have got to get his bit between his teeth tonight and try and find some of that form that he had last season. So they're the two for me, Paqueta and Souček. Who else you put in there with them is take your pick. But I do agree with what you said in your match preview with Gonzo, that if you was going to pick a midfielder tonight, out of the ones we've got available, the ones we let go in the last window, I would probably have Downs or Ward-Prowse ahead of anybody else as the third option this evening. But they're not available to us, which is really frustrating, because either of those, that would be the tick for me. So it's difficult that we're here, but we've only got available what we've got available, and that's it.
What about Lewis Orford? Is it too soon, too much for him, or would you be keen on giving him a...
You know what, Joe? I watched the Tottenham Man City game, right?
Yeah.
And the camera continued. Once Tottenham were kind of clear, and you knew that there was no way back for City, and you knew that the manager was going to bring on some of the youngsters, the camera was panning to the youngsters on the bench. They just had this aura about them. They looked happy. They were smiling. They looked like future superstars. That's what it felt like. It felt like these players knew, I'm going to be a professional footballer. I will make it in the Premier League. I'm good enough to make it in the Premier League. And I've got every confidence that I want to get on that pitch right now. They had big, and obviously they're going to want to get on the pitch when you're, 3-0 up, 4-0 up, whatever it may be. I get that. But I don't think it was the scoreline that was the reason why they were so happy, smiling and wanting to get on that football pitch. I genuinely believe it's because the culture that Tottenham create with helping bring these youngsters through, with basically showing them that there are opportunities to play football in the first team at Tottenham. And you will see minutes, some of them are not seeing loads of minutes, but you just feel like this, the hype around Mikey Moore at the moment and some of the other players they've got, it feels like they've got superstars on the way through. We feel like that all the way through, under 18s and then going into the development league and everything like that. It always feels like we've got these future superstars. But I never look at them on the bench and feel like you're the next big thing, or even like they've got the confidence they've got the next big thing. If anything, it feels like they're just frustrated and they just sit there knowing that they're not going to see the pitch, knowing that they're never going to play a part, and actually probably sitting there more pondering, what am I going to do as the next move in my career? That's what they're thinking in their heads. They're not thinking like the Tottenham players thinking, get me out there, I'm going to show you what I can do. They're almost sitting there thinking, is it worth me staying at this football club? And that's the wrong mentality. It's the wrong way to bring these youngsters through. And for that reason, I just don't feel like I sit there and look at, the potential options we've got of the youngsters and feel like they'd have the confidence to go out there tonight and do it against a very good Newcastle midfield. And that's a shame, because I've no question that some of them have got the ability, and we want to see more youngsters coming through at West Ham because we're just not doing it enough at the moment. But do I feel like we give them the culture to thrive and come on and not have confidence issues and knock themselves down if it doesn't go well for them? I'm not sure. I think tonight, really, as much as it pains me to say it, because I do want to see youngsters break through at West Ham, I would go for experience over the younger options we got.
Yeah, no right answers really, is there? There's not one that, the defence, I think, picks itself. I think the front three probably picks itself. While I personally would go Ings, I think he will go Antonio. But given that Antonio didn't play for Jamaica because of the passport issues, hopefully he doesn't have that international break hangover that he usually has. So Somerville, Antonio and Bowen, there's enough. If Antonio turns up, there's enough there to cause bother. It's just that midfield. It's
well, he talks a good game. He was at that podcast this week where Antonio's giving it the big one, and if anybody else can't, I can, and all this sort of talk, making out that he's this, I don't know, just this person who overcomes adversity and just, always is there when you need him. But I haven't.
I think he has, though. To be fair, to come from non-league football to the Premier League is a huge
and that's great.
To...
And I love it. And he has done, and I'm not saying he hasn't. He has done, and he's been very important for West Ham over the years. What I'm saying is I think he still believes it now, but there's big questions as to whether his mind still believes he can do it, but can he still do it? And tonight's one of them nights where you really need him. It's going to be a tough, difficult, hard game where he's going to be isolated. He isn't going to have loads of the ball. He isn't going to see loads. But every single time that ball goes to that end of the football pitch, we need him putting himself about, trying to get on it and bring us further up the football pitch. And that's going to be blooming hard. It's going to be a horrible game for him tonight. And you need him to stay at his task and stay at it. And, like I say, I don't think at all that it's going to be an easy job for him tonight. It's going to be double hard. But has he got that? I want to see some of that grit that he talks about. I want to see him continue and keep at it. And even if, you go 1-0 down, I need to drag him back into us and try and get that goal that gets us back in the game. And I just see this season, I've seen body language that doesn't reflect what comes out of his mouth. But
I think he does try. I think the biggest criticism I have is when we perhaps leave him on for too long. I think there's been some games where he's clearly done, and he's 5-10 minutes later before he gets subbed off. And in that 5-10 minutes, we really struggle because that ball gets cleared out and he's not chasing it anymore because he's done. But he himself has said after about an hour, I'm blowing out my arse. I'll give it 100%, but after an hour, I'm out of here. He's 34 years old. He's he's aware that he can only give so much. And I think my issue is that he knows that, we know that, but I don't often feel like the manager's hooking him off at the right time. And the second thing is, I think sometimes if you know he can only give you an hour, I think you've got to decide, is it best to play him from the start or to have him on the bench to bring on? And I think sometimes we get that judgment wrong. I think there's been some games we would have benefited from Antonio coming off the bench for the last half hour of the game, because we know what he can give when he's at it. It's just whether he is that good or not anymore, it remains to be seen. But like, I agree with what you said. It's going to be an unforgiving role for him tonight. But I think with Kelly and Schär, I think they're good players, but they're not Saliba and Gabriel. He will get a little bit of joy out of those two. I fancy him more against those two than I do against Botman and possibly even Dan Burn, to be honest with you, because Dan Burn's quite physical. He can deal with Antonio's physicality. It's not to say Schär and Lloyd Kelly aren't. They're just a bit... I think Schär can be a bit erratic as well. If Antonio can get that run on him like he sometimes does, win a free kick, get him in the book early doors, and we'll see. But anyway, we'll leave it there. But last question. In our podcast during the week, you optimistically and blindly perhaps said 3-2 West Ham. Are you sticking with your score prediction? Now's your opportunity to change it if you wish.
No, I'm sticking with it.
Good
like
man.
I say, I don't see us keeping clean sheet. So we've got to outscore them. It's just going to be one of them nights where Antonio's going to get a couple and we're going to get one from somewhere else. And it's just going to be one of them nights where it just goes right for us. So
I hope so, Frankie. I would take the scrappiest 1-0 win in the world. I want to see good performances, but when things aren't going well, which they're not at the moment, I just want the result. I just want the 3 points, and we can worry about the performances another day. And listen, you're entitled to want to win, but want Lopetegui gone, and you're entitled to celebrate the win, but be unhappy with how we're playing. It's perfectly okay, and that's me. I want to win. I hope we see a good performance. I think if we win, I'm pretty confident it will come with, like you said at the very start, an element of luck and an element of got away with it. Because I just don't have any confidence whatsoever that this manager's going to come up with a game plan that's going to outwit Eddie Howe. And even if he did, what I have even less confidence in, which is already low, I'm on minus confidence points here, which is he being able to get the players to do his plan perfectly. Because he's already said there's something lost in translation here. He's already admitted he's struggling to get the players to understand what he wants. So I have no confidence in him coming out with a plan. I've got even less confidence in him being able to get the players to do what he wants in order to get the win. I said 3-0 Newcastle in the preview, Frankie. I'm going to stick with that. The good news is, on Saturday, I said 4-0 Man City. So that prediction was well off. The bad news is, yesterday, I said Ipswich 1, Man U 1. So while I've had one really bad one, I've also had a really good one. I said 3-2. I said 3-0 Liverpool. So correct outcome, wrong score. So a mixed bag of my 3 predictions so far over the weekend. But this is the last one, and it's Newcastle 3, West Ham United 0. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We are live at 6:55 tonight on this channel with our build-up to the game and the watch-along. Then I'll be live immediately after with the review. Myself and Frankie will be back on Wednesday. We'll be back on Wednesday with our podcast dissecting tonight's game and looking ahead to the next game as well against Arsenal, and possibly discussing the future of Lopetegui, or possibly even discussing which manager to get in to replace the now sacked Lopetegui. Lots to unpack. We don't know what we're going to be discussing, but we'll see you on Wednesday. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking the thumbs up. It's going to be time to chat myself and Frankie. Catch you in a bit.